Matt, I gotta congratulate you on your new position as the new art director for Bungie.
It is a disaster, isn't it?
You've been there for a while now, kind of doing oversight operations, if I understand correctly, kind of making sure that quality is up to snuff, all of your art is original, and you've kind of under
Let's
a little.
say some things slipped through the cracks. It's harder than it looks, level cap. Harder than it looks.
Oh boy, it is not a good week for Bungie. I don't mean to say that with such like enthusiasm, because I really Bungie is one of my like nostalgia companies. They were one of my favorites growing up as a kid. I played them before Halo was a thing. They had great games, and I don't like seeing what's happening right now because they're putting a lot of eggs in the Marathon basket, and the Marathon basket looks like it's sinking right now.
It's not looking good. That's putting it mildly.
Yeah. So in case you've been hiding under a rock for the past week, basically an artist on social media pointed out that a lot of their designs that they've been made from like 2017 and around-ish time were in Marathon. Like not just influenced by, but straight up copy and pasted into Marathon.
Yeah.
Wasn't really debatable. Bungie copped to it and they said, basically crap. Some employee we had who we totally fired forever ago put this in the game. Didn't really give us details. Not that I would expect them to, I wouldn't expect them to call out a specific person on that. But they said, these assets ended up in the game. They weren't ours to use. We're going to compensate the artists and reach out to them and all this stuff.
Yep.
Damage done, though. The damage was done at that point. The community exploded, and it's not the first time that Bungie has been caught plagiarizing stuff. Probably won't be the last time. And it's interesting. It's hard, and I feel bad for obviously both parties, like an artist having your artwork stolen from a big company, and then Bungie, they've got a team of probably a couple hundred people working on this project, and all it takes is one person to be like copy and paste, and then your whole company's basically on the firing line for the weird thing that I see is like some people seem to think that like somehow Bungie would want to steal the artwork, and it's like, if you have 200-ish employees working on a game, you're not going to like try and save a couple of bucks by getting a little bit of art here and there. It's like, no, you would never risk that. It's just bad oversight. It's poor oversight on the art department, and just unfortunate, really.
That's how I was interpreting it too. Cause I'm not a game developer. I don't know what even goes into game development, right? Like I've never been into a studio, not really. But I've had people come up to me and be like, dude, if they're corrupted from the very core, the game director or art director followed the person on Twitter. Like clearly they knew about this. I'm like, really? Like this is bad. Absolutely. It's bad. They need to compensate these people. I think it's actually a couple people that have come out and said like a few of their things. So it's not just one person.
I didn't see the more than one person.
I think there was one other person maybe, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, they all knew about it, and I'm like, there's no way, like, that it'd be very, very hard for me to believe that the art director was like, yes, steal their artwork. We're Bungie. We could just pay them to do it, but no, we're going to have you steal it and then potentially have what happens right now, where they find out that their art was in the game, and then everything gets, like where we are today. So, yes, it's not a good look. Yeah, apparently the art director is following the person where the art was stolen, but I'm sure they're following tons of people online, right? Like,
they follow a lot of people with similar art styles to the Marathon, which is probably how they did a lot of their recruiting for the art style, which is here's like 20 people that have this art style that we like, and then you recruit them on board. And so, naturally you would follow somebody in the art world.
And I'm not excusing the fact that this has happened by any stretch, right? Like, this is a really bad look for Bungie, but
you're just showing how it could happen without malicious intent.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sucks. Yeah. But man, this is people are already saying that Marathon is not looking good, right?
Yeah.
And this is just like another thing. Most casual players are not going to even hear about this news, and people that are enthusiastic about Bungie and are excited for Marathon but have like no desire to go online and, you know, learn about all the new information and
Yeah.
hear about the drama, they're not hearing about this. But it's still just another thing on top of the reputation of this game, and it's not positive.
Yeah. And then naturally, some follow up stories to this news breaking. A bunch of ex employees came out to talk about the management culture, and they call them the good old boys of Bungie, who basically wouldn't take advice from the team. But I don't want to get into that too much because, I mean, it's such a gray area where you're like, ex-employee didn't like their bosses. Are they correct? Are the bosses correct? We don't know. Is the culture over there bad? Is the management, it's not uncommon. And I don't want to say that that story couldn't be true, but it's just one of those things that it's hard to know without being there or hearing both sides of the story. But, our favorite franchise, Battlefield, the entire managerial structure got gutted after the last project. They completely flipped that studio on its head and like rebuilt a lot of the architecture. So I think it's very possible and easy for bad managerial practices to sink in, especially once you've had a bunch of successful titles and you sort of think you're the reason why the company's successful. But that can be bad. You can kind of atrophy. You can become less innovative. You can become less open to suggestions. So I don't know. I'm not throwing weight into that, but it's just like one of those things where it's like they might have not published that story had this art theft thing become a big deal. But now that the art theft thing is putting Bungie really in the spotlight, other people are like, I've got a story about Bungie, and then the big news sites will pick it up and
of course
and run with it.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
It furthers the narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I really don't want Marathon to be some sort of like people are saying, oh, this is the nail in the lid of the coffin for Bungie or whatever. But I hope they can salvage it. We all want more good games. I hope they can figure it out. Or even if Marathon isn't successful, I hope it doesn't sink Bungie. I always want Bungie to be a company and do stuff, even if they don't own the Halo franchise anymore. I still, good stuff can come from them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I think it's probably going to get delayed if I had to take a guess.
Yeah.
We're like 4 months out or something like that.
I know. It's one of those things. It's one of those things too, where this is the other thing where it's looking at both sides of here's the production standpoint and here's the consumer standpoint. Consumers are like, just delay the game. Production's like, oh yeah, with our endless budget to retain hundreds of employees for another year, like without launching and having any revenue stream. That's like this one part of the equation that always seems to get left out of the consumer vote to delay a game. You're like, you guys realize that they can't just delay and then launch in a year. They'll have to fire their dev team before that happens because they'll run out of money. Like, it's not going to work.
Potentially. Depends on the company. Because it is Bungie that we're talking about.
It's Bungie. They got Sony dollars. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they could do it. But also at the same time, Sony's shut down so many dev teams over the last four years. Just a huge amount. So them putting a limit on spending or being like, hey, you guys screw up more, we're just going to shut the whole thing down, because there's plenty of projects that get canned before they even launch because they look at the expenses of launching and servers and additional marketing dollar and they go, are we even going to make a return on this? And then they'll shut it down before even giving it a chance. So we'll see what Bungie can do. I'm rooting for them, but I can't say I feel very particularly hopeful about Marathon, at least as a game, especially when it's going up against Arc Raiders, which universally the reception of both games could not be like.
Did you hear the joke?
Different.
It's Arc Raiders versus Art Raiders.
Yes, I did. It's very clever.
It's good, but it's bad. Not a good look for Bungie.
It's an incredible joke. The timing of it is brutal. And I feel bad for Bungie, but very hopeful for Arc Raiders, that's for sure.
I mean, that's the one that everyone's talking about, and for good reason.
Yeah. You want to hear some more corporate drama, Matt?
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah. So CIG, Cloud Imperium Games, the makers of Star Citizen and Squadron 42, who have raised over $800 million in crowdfunding for Star Citizen. Well, both their games, I guess. They got into it. They got a little drama-y over this past week.
What happened?
Okay, so they got their big Invictus launch week, ship sale, free fly event, all that big promotion for the game happening. And with that promotion, they release a bunch of ships, a bunch of items. One of the items are called blades. And blades are going to be a lot of different things in the game. It's basically a plug-in module for your spaceship that can modify it. And so some of the blades eventually will give you AI turrets. So you'll be able to plug them in, and then they'll control the turrets for your ship, and you don't need a gunner in them or whatever. The blades that they just released modify ship speeds and things like that. So you can tweak and fine-tune, say, the top speed or the acceleration rate. I actually don't know all the specifics on...
So it's a further way to customize a ship.
Yeah. The bad thing is that they put this item behind a paywall, like a $30 for a blade or whatever it cost. And then they say players are going to be able to buy them in-game, but it's going to be a while before they can. I think it was like 3 months. And while a lot of Star Citizen features are money locked for a time period, like when I believe when their salvage ships came out, like either you bought the salvage ship or you couldn't partake in salvaging. And then eventually you can buy the salvage ship in game once that time delay is released or whatever. This is more of a, like, if you're modifying your ship to be better in combat, people are very much seeing it as like, hey, they're just kind of making the game pay to win for like a period of time. So if you're in the game hardcore piloting and you're into PvP dogfighting or whatever, and your opponent has an item that makes them better than you, and you go, well, I don't want to spend $30 to get a little nothing burger of a chip that I plug into my ship that makes it better. So I just got to be worse potentially. And it kind of blew up in CIG's face. Everybody got wind of it, news sites, all this stuff. And I'm not sure what's going to happen. CIG has sort of walked back some of their stuff, but not all of it. And,
okay, I have the perfect thing that CIG can do. Okay. So what they need to do is, it's real simple. So what they got to do is add content to their game, fix their game, no longer sell any new items. And then when the game releases, they sell a product that people can buy, which is called the game. And then they get their money from that, right? And then they don't have to nickel and dime their whales all the way until release, and they can just deliver a product, that they've clearly developed and have enough money for. Like 800, if you can't make a game with $800 million, basically $1 billion, then you probably don't deserve to make a game.
Yeah, is
that too harsh? Is that too much?
I mean, I would love it if they could finish the game in $800 million. Having followed this project closely enough, it seems like they're always kind of on the edge of wherever their budget is, where they're spending.
Are they really like, where's their money? I mean, I know their money went to like actors.
They've got like 1,200 employees, so they have a lot. A lot of employees. They're making 2 games. I'm not going to defend their budgeting too much. There's plenty of production issues that I've taken issue with. If you compare it to other massive projects, their budget doesn't seem quite as crazy. But if you compare it to timelines and original goals for the game and all that kind of stuff, it seems absolutely absurd. They really shot themselves in the foot once they were like, sure, we'll make giant procedural planets that you can land and walk around. And you're like, excuse me. I think the stretch goal for that was like 40 million or something like that. When they hit 40 million, they're like, we'll do giant procedural planets that you can walk around. You're like, yeah, so you just said you're going to make like a game that nobody's ever made before and then do it in addition to everything else.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, I think you just tacked on about 8 years of development time there.
Like I get that they need, every company wants more revenue. Every company, it's a company, right? So they want to make money, and I get that. But at the same point, it just feels like they're nickel and diming like their community, and it's kind of getting.
They're taking it to a new low. I think that's what Salty Mike's Week in Review video was called, like a new low, for the way they're monetizing the game, where we've already known for a long time, it's almost become acceptable within the Star Citizen community that they can charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a new spaceship that comes out. And it is kind of putting new features and new experiences behind a paywall. And there's been a big argument that it's still not technically pay to win in some cases.
It doesn't even matter if it's not even pay to win, because it's like... Yeah. It's so expensive to buy these things, and I imagine it's pretty hard to grind them in the game as well. I don't really know because I haven't put that much time into it.
It takes a long time. Yeah.
Right. So you're basically locking content behind a massive paywall or a massive grind, and that's like, let people enjoy. Like if this truly is a test, right, and you want people to experiment and you want people to like, test your systems, putting it behind a paywall, especially the massive paywall for some of them it's transparent that it's not about the test at that point.
Yeah, no, it's their revenue model, and they have to keep pulling in money. And I think the community has accepted the ship side of things. They've accepted cosmetic stuff, buy a new spacesuit, make it look cool, whatever. Skins for your ships. People are fine with that. But this one was just like, here's a modification that makes your ship better. You'll be able to get it in game, but not for this period of time, which makes no sense in that situation.
Well, I think it's because they do the same thing with their ships, right?
Yeah. They know people are going to buy it.
Transfer that same mentality to other things in the game when it's like, whoa, no, that shifts. That's a different thing, and now all of a sudden it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not only that, but you're not buying an experience. You're buying competitiveness, right? You're saying because the current blades that they have aren't going to make, like, you're not going to fly to a new area or region or partake in a new type of gameplay. You're just going to make your ship slightly faster, so it's slightly better than your opponent's ship. And then they're saying, give us the money so that you can change your stats. And people have put their foot, or the community has really put their foot down. The whole internet has taken it, and it's a shame. Because this event was actually pretty cool, and they launched one of their biggest ships into the game that's player flyable. It has like a whole hangar bay on it that you can land a fighter squadron inside of. It looks amazing, and it's very much being overshadowed by CIG trying to nickel and dime their crowd.
Just so I'm not taking away from the fact how cool it is. How much is the ship?
The Idris?
Yeah.
The giant one? Maybe I didn't buy it, but maybe it's like 1,500 or something like that. I think people are expecting a price. Oh, I think it's going to go on sale during the ship sale day. So we'll find out what the new price is, but they're predicting they're going to jack it up to like 2K or something like that. But those also, by the way, sell out in like minutes usually when they go on sale.
Ridiculous, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I get, it's, supply and demand, and it's not even supply, it's just demand, right? But still, that's crazy.
Atif in chat is just like, oh my God, 2K is insane. Well, the bigger ship, the Javelin destroyer is even more than that. So it's all craziness. The prices have gone nutso. These are the NFTs that other developers want. It's nuts. That said, the cool factor of this ship is pretty cool, man. Like you can set your spawn point to it, launch a fighter out of the fighter bay, get into a dogfight, die, respawn on the ship, and then like help your crew repair or like get in a turret and gun for it. You're like, okay, that's neat. That's pretty
super cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
And the hangar bay also, you don't just have to put fighters in it. You could put like 10 tanks in there and land this thing and just drive tanks out of it into whatever combat situation.
Or you put the tanks in the back, you open up the back, and then they start shooting out the back.
You can do that, actually. That's what's so cool about Star Citizen.
That's cool. Yeah, that would be dope. You'd probably miss everything, but it'd be sick as hell.
Well, I did this actually with Ollie. You can put a tank on top of the flight deck for the 890 jump goes up to the surface of the ship, and then it'll magnetize a tank onto it, so you can use it as like a turret on the 890 while it's flying around. So you're just like a big battleship turret, like turning and shooting at stuff. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. To give CIG a little credit and not just doom and gloom and make it look like all they're trying to do is push giant ships, this latest patch has a lot of new missions to run. And they've been putting more quality of life features into the game. Like, it's now easier to party up and join a server with friends. You can now quantum jump back to a ship if you get disconnected or you lose it somewhere. You're like, dang it, where'd I park my ship? Now you always have a quantum marker for it, so you can jump to it. They're finally starting to add this quality of life features. They're finally starting to add a whole bunch of new missions, not just boilerplate missions, but ones that actually have a little bit of narrative and story behind them and stuff.
Nice.
It's getting there. I think this is going to be overall a good year for Star Citizen in terms of like the game becoming more playable, more stable, more quality of life. So
that's good.
I'm still very much optimistic for the project. Again, they just slipped up on this thing, and I hope they set a better standard for how they're going to, like, they've already gotten away with murder when it comes to what they're charging for with their spaceships.
Yeah.
Stop pushing it further. And I think they're ahead of their budgeting schedule this year. Like, they're making more than they did last year already.
But you can't tell a company to stop making money, right? Like, you just can't.
God. I know the marketing team's like, more, we can do this, we can do that. And oh boy, I don't know what to think of it, Matt.
Because let me be clear. I am excited for everything Star Citizen. I love the idea of what they're going for, but like, I'm just so sick of like the monetization and the way that they've handled that part of the game, and that's what frustrates me. Is to see that aspect.
I also and part of me thinks like when the game comes out, I might make an alt account just so I can experience the game without a giant hangar of ships. Because because you basically just ruined the progression for yourself. Yeah, well, I mean, I sort of did that with a few ships, but I got a lot through the referral program that I was like, I use my referral code. The referral program gave me like 20 or 30 ships, whatever it gives. I don't know what it gives, but now my hangar is just loaded with ships, and I'm like, I don't get to have that moment now where I start with my little size 1 ship and then save up enough and get the cooler ship. Which is like the whole point. Yeah, I know. So it's funny, but ironically, after gaining all of that stuff, I think I'm going to be more inclined to want to start a fresh account, at least. Yeah. Maybe have both of them, whatever, but just have that sense of progression, real progression, you know? Yeah. You want to talk about AI Darth Vader? Sure. Are you familiar? So I saw a couple videos. Basically, you could talk to Vader, and he then would respond to you based off of what you said. This is in Fortnite, by the way. Yeah, this is Fortnite. Fortnite launched a patch with AI Darth Vader, and he's hooked up to, I think, Gemini. I'm not sure what AI it is. Gemini, and then you can say stuff to him. Continue. Sorry. Right. And we've talked about this before, where I think eventually we will have games that you will enter into an inn in a fantasy setting, go up to a merchant or the barkeep, and you'll have a conversation with them, and they'll have like defined parameters of what they can talk about. When you go start talking about, skibbity toilets, they're just going to look at you and be like, what do you like? It has nothing to do with this universe, so it's not going to respond to you. Yeah. That's not how it works in Fortnite, because everyone was like baiting Vader, which is the voice of Vader, because James he signed Earl away Jones. He gave away his rights, his voice rights for that.
I'm sure his family was paid, handsomely for it, and they rightfully so, right? Like it's that he's like he is Star Wars, but it's his voice, and he's just saying the wildest things, he's anything basically that you can think of, and there's videos of it. So obviously,
it's not a good look for Disney or Fortnite.
Yeah, at all.
So I'm happy that they're doing the trial run for this technology, because I think it is cool. As much as I am not a fan of overall AI progress in certain areas, I'm like, this one thing is kind of cool. It's kind of neat. You got to admit, when you see it in a video game and an AI starts behaving like a person, but it's clearly not ready for public consumption, or let alone Fortnite kiddies to be hearing Vader saying racial slurs or profanity or whatever.
Right.
It's obviously out of control. That said, it made me think when watching it, because you can tell Vader to do stuff in the game, which is cool. You can be like, get over here, Darth Vader, and then he'll like give you some quippy remark or something like that. But
yeah, I think it was responding also to like what character you were playing as, like what skin, which is neat. It's like it's a neat idea.
Yeah. Well, and I was watching streamers talk to him and being like, and they were saying like their catchphrases or like talking about themselves, and then Vader would make a remark about them based on publicly available knowledge. So they would know stuff, right? Like Vader would say stuff. So it really was kind of uncanny. It was cool in that sense. It made me think a lot about how cool. There's a lot of games where it's like an FPS and you've got a squad, whether it's like the original Rainbow Six style games or something, where you're commanding these squad units around, and you usually have to use all kinds of interfaces or like a clunky thing, and all you can do is like hit one button that tells them to go somewhere or to interact with the object that you're looking at. But being able to talk to an AI teammate or squad mate or companion in any game and have them react realistically, I mean, I honestly think that will be one of the next big games, where it could be like even a single player. Like imagine Stalker, but in Stalker you had like a robot dog or a real dog or something, and you could speak to it and have it respond realistically to your commands. Like that could be amazing. Like even at a very simple level, and then you extrapolate that further with a character with all kinds of backstory and personality. And now all of a sudden they're making your adventure. They're making that adventure more exciting and cooler. And then imagine the emotional attachment to these characters. And then the character dies along the way. And like, it could be like this next level of gaming immersion for narrative and character driven stuff. So I'm super excited about that. It has to start somewhere. It's starting with AI Vader and Fortnite.
AI Vader.
Yeah. Of course, because where else would it start? And they'll work out the kinks.
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it could be really cool. I don't think that they should go all in like they've done with Vader, obviously. Even like tone down slightly Vader, where he doesn't say certain things. I don't know. AI is a very cool tool, and hopefully it is used as one. But I don't want it to just take over, games and become the main focus, right? Like it should be a complement. It should be a tool, the same way that they use, engines to generate lush forests, because the forests aren't generated by a person individually placing the trees anymore, like they used to back in the day. Used to be. Now
I'm
it's
the guy who places
generated.
The grass on the ground.
Right. Now it's all generated by a computer, which you could say is AI, right? So
yeah. It's not really though. It's
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Machine learning. What it really is machine learning is what they're always describing. It's not actually AI. Anyways,
well, that's a good.
So
yeah.
Could continue. What were you saying?
Well, I was going to segue, but do you want to chat more about this?
Go for it.
Okay.
No,
I was going to say it's a good segue to what I wanted to chat about next, which is AA games are becoming nominated, the biggest games that are being nominated for Game of the Year contenders now. And studios are seeing these AA teams hitting way higher success rates for like a fraction of the investment that they're doing with AAA. And I think a lot of that is due to these tools that we're talking about, whether it's quote unquote AI tools or more procedural tools that are becoming much more available, whether it's Unreal.
Yeah, because you're right. Procedural generation is not the same as AI. It's a good point.
Yeah, but those tools are coming a long way, and they're based on algorithmic like tech, which a lot of AI stuff is based on algorithms as well. So, I mean, we keep using the term AI, but all it is like really smart programs right now that have good algorithms. They're not doing a lot of thinking for themselves at the moment. But yeah,
it's machine learning. They're just trying to spit out what they think you want to see and what you want to have happen. Yeah, that's all it is.
Yep. And those procedural tools and the tools available to devs are making small teams like what we see with Claire Obscure able to produce these incredibly visually stunning projects, games that feel like they would have been a AAA game not that long ago, right? Or just in general already do feel kind of AAA with a lot of their production quality. So we're hitting higher tiers of game development with smaller teams now, which is both exciting but also interesting. Like, I don't know what it means for the future of development. I think we're going to see a lot of studios. I think there's going to be a lot less mega dev teams. Like, they'll be reserved for the Fortnites and the Grand Theft Autos and the, I don't know, whatever.
Call of Duties.
Yeah, the mega hits that they know are going to return, $500 million in sales or more. And then they'll put together those crazy mega teams. But I think we're going to start seeing a lot of the big studios slowing down on investing that kind of dollar now in game projects and going for these smaller AA studio sizes.
And ironically, maybe this is just me, I don't need to have 100-hour, 200-hour Assassin's Creed adventure. I don't need it. I mean, some people might, and maybe I need to, shut the hell up, streamer boy. But I feel like there's a lot of bloat in some of these larger games that just doesn't need to be there. It adds to the world because it makes you feel like you're a part of this grand adventure. One person a friend I know, he really loved Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, loved it. But then he's someone who does all the side stuff, right? Like if he comes across something, he's going to do it. And so then by the end, he's like, oh my God, I just want the game to be over. Like, this is insane how long the main story is on top of everything else that I've done, right? So it's great. It's like the game is designed for you not to do everything at once. It's just designed for you to just kind of do it as you go. And then if you have that mentality, it's paced reasonably. But if you do everything, it's just too much, right? And I think that's probably a poor example because that game apparently only was developed by $40 million, I heard, or something like really small.
Yeah, but if you develop a formula for, say, mission generation or something, you're like, hey, look at this, boss. I just made a mission generation system, and now we can quickly make missions. Okay, you could make your game 3,000 hours really quickly if you wanted to. It's not going to be a good... Exactly. That's what I'm saying is they're increasing the length beyond what maybe the most of the players actually want it to be, where they're like, man, this was a great 40 to 50 hour experience. But then you push them to 80 hours and they're like, I was loving it the first 40, but it was a real grind the last 40.
I guess the point I was trying to make is I do think some of these games are getting bloated, but that bloat can make the world feel more alive and can make it feel like it's anywhere you go is an adventure. And there is something special about that too, right? Because then it's like, oh, I never went over there, and there's stuff I could do. I'm not gonna do it, but just the idea of there being stuff over there is tantalizing, and so I don't want to completely dismiss that fact.
I think you can draw parallels with like the Zelda games, right? Where if you went and completed every single dungeon and every single temple and every single thing in those games, your playtime starts shooting way up. You're going to hit the like 100-hour range probably pretty easy. But I love going through the game at my own pace, doing a few little side quests here and there, seeing the cool thing in the distance, marking it, going like, maybe I'll check out that cave on that mountaintop later or something. But it is nice just knowing that it's there, where you're like, I'm doing my adventure in this much bigger world. And if I choose to, I can go somewhere else and do a bigger adventure. But it makes you feel less like you're going down a very specific path that you have to go down. You're going down your path, right? And then you beat the game when it makes sense for you to beat. So yeah, it's hard. It's probably hard to figure out that system, and pacing's a big part of it, and making it feel like it's your choice and it's emergent gameplay is a huge part of those worlds feeling good, as opposed to, I think, what we see with Ubisoft games or like an Assassin's Creed game where they over UI everything, and so everything's very clearly marked and all this stuff, and then you sort of lose some of that mystery, and you're just like, I'm just going from point A to point B, but there's a lot of cool things to see along the way or whatever. It has a different vibe to it, you know? So
yeah,
it's got to be done well. Otherwise it does just feel big for the sake of being big. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I read another article that's somewhat related to this that was talking about, it was a game journalist talking about going to PAX East, I think, whatever the latest PAX event was.
I heard it was bad.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Like, what was bad about it?
That there's like nothing to see anymore. It's just, there's like no big games, like long lines. It's just not well organized. Yeah. It's just not a great experience.
Yeah. So the article I read was, I forget the exact title, but it was basically harping on the deprofessionalization of the game industry. And what they called that was like, there isn't money there. A lot of the indie world, not the AA world, but the indie world is now focused around between 1 and 3 person teams. Because they're like finding they can get a lot of game out of that. And they're not willing to risk the 10 to 20 person team to get something a little bit more or invest a little bit more money. And so when they're at PAX East, that's basically all they saw was like these tiny little mom and pop games that, you know, have the chance of becoming a huge hit like Balatro or something like that. But they don't yet have the funding behind them. It's all like this big gamble from the publisher. They're like, yeah, sure, we'll fund these 1 or 2 people for a couple of years to make their game, and then hopefully it's a big hit. But the result is on the low end of the game industry is you're going to get a lot more washout. People who spend 3 or 4 years making a game, it doesn't do well. They don't really make their time or money back, and then they bail. So they build up all these skills.
And that's the majority. That will be the majority of people. By like a lot.
Yeah, and that's what the industry's turning into is a whole lot of first-time devs. Because if your first project isn't successful, the odds of you sticking around for a second project are slim to none, you know? So you get a whole bunch of first-time devs. They're not getting paid a lot. There's not a lot of money being invested in their projects. And they're learning all their skills for the first time, as opposed to somebody who's been doing it for 20, 30 years and can come into a project with better expectations, project management skills, and the basic skill set to hit the ground running, as opposed to hit the ground learning. And yeah, basically this journalist was like, I've been doing this for like a decade, and I've seen these indie game events have changed dramatically in terms of like the team sizes and even the money involved in them now. It's very much shifted to these super low cost game projects now.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. It's fascinating because like on the one hand, as you were saying, we have AAA companies that are failing, and smaller game studios are the ones that are super successful. Are becoming more successful. We're seeing more breakout hits because of it. But then on the other hand, you have a lot of smaller dev teams. Like what you hear Balatro, like you said, one guy, right?
Yeah.
You've got Stardew Valley, one guy. When I hear one guy, I don't get excited. You know, it's cool if it comes out well, but I don't actually get excited for it because I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Or 1 or 2, that's cool. But like, man, the exceptions to the rules are incredible. But they are the exceptions for a reason, because it's so hard to actually develop something on the scale that people expect for a modern game. Yeah, it's great that it was one person, but like people still have their expectations. Their money still has to go to something, right? So Yeah,
and the average user isn't like, this was made by one guy as they're playing. They're just like, no, I'm I'm playing Balatro right now. Like, if it's not good, I'm not going to play it, period.
Right.
So yeah. The one guy thing is just sort of this weird, I don't want to call it a trend. It's just that the difficulty of organizing a team, as soon as you go from 1 to 2, there's a huge amount of overhead that goes into management and legal stuff and oversight and blah, blah, blah. And making that leap from 1 to 2 is pretty massive. Like, you're not just doubling your workforce, you're kind of 1.5ing your workforce, because that other half goes to now writing legal contracts and managing and figuring out stuff to make sure that the team is all good and everything's squared away. And and you're increasing your liability as well. If you hire a dude to like create your physics system for your game, and then they quit after 6 months, and you're like, cool, I've got like a 90% done physics system that now I have to like try and learn, or I have to hire somebody else that like
to finish it up.
Yeah. There's a huge appeal to these solo dev projects simply because of the expansion on the legal side of things and the liability side of things.
It's also a marketing ploy, I think, too, because like if you can go and be like, check out this game. It was made, doesn't this game look great? Yeah. It was made by one person. Holy God. Yeah. So I think that's also
I use that in my YouTube titles for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited by it, but also I talked to, I won't mention this dev's name because I don't know if he wants this info out there, but I talked
to Jerry. It's Jerry.
I talked to Jerry, who's making that super cool new game that everybody's talking about. And he said, I think it was the first 3 or 4 years of his project. He was working by himself, 90-hour weeks for 3 to 4 years. And you're like, that's like self-abuse right there. That's
insane. That's too much.
Totally insane. So people are like, man, that's cool. And it's like, these guys are like addicted to working on their projects. It's gone overboard. It's gone to a level of unhealthy. And you're like, and then imagine doing that and your game not doing well. Right. Like, what an absolute nightmare. And then they burn out.
It'd be such a kick. And statistically, it won't do well.
Statistically, most games fail completely. So
it's like your game could be incredible. I mean, look at this. Among Us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that they probably put like 1 million hours into it, right? But like it was clearly a passion project, and it got picked up like 4 years after release randomly, right? Like they didn't like launch the game and it took
I didn't actually know that.
Years later, people just like streamers just found it, streamed it, and then it just took off from there, right? And so it's like, even for the successful games that we all know, some of them, like, it was literally just pure luck that they found their success. So if you don't have marketing, your game could be incredible, people could love it, but if no one knows about it, and very few people will know about it because you don't have a marketing budget, good luck, right?
Yeah, I know.
It's so tough.
It's super crazy. I follow this stuff all the time because I'm always following indie devs, and like they'll post like their marketing strategies and all this, and everybody's trying to help each other out and get ahead of it. And it's tough to watch because I was following this little game that looks cool. It's a little spaceship game, and I can't remember the name. It's called like Tiny Miner or something like that. And the guy just posted like his strategy and results for marketing, and I think his game got up to like 2,000 wish lists or something through it. I'm like, it's tough to watch because they're like, here's the strategy, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. And then like 2,000 wish lists is like, that's tough. Like, that's not necessarily like a guarantee that your game's going to get recognized. Like, you gotta, I think indie devs are aiming for like 10K or something, is like just to get past, everybody else on launch day, so that you get higher up on your list to get recognized. Is like, okay, that should boost you a little bit higher, but then also other companies are saying there's no correlation between wish lists and day one sales and all this other stuff. And so it's all just chaos, and they're all trying to figure it out, man. And I feel bad for these little teams that especially just want to make a game. They don't want to worry about marketing, like marketing is not why you get into game dev, but it ends up taking a huge percentage of the project, which is why big teams can be nice, because then you have the marketing department and then you have the development department. The developers can develop, marketing can market, and then you don't have to do the things you don't want to do or are not good at.
So all the moral of the story is, I think the games I'm usually more excited for nowadays is AAA titles, but are this more smaller AA titles, right? Like your Claire Obscure, like your Satisfactory. You know, not massive things, but are able to still deliver an incredible experience.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of bounce between these fun little indie projects and then not like mega. There's very few mega AAA games that I'm excited about. Squadron 42 is probably like one of the few. But then like Arc Raiders would be another one that I'm quite excited about. But I know they did that with a smaller team.
Is that a AA or is that a AAA? I don't even know how to call it. It's blending the like a lot of these titles are starting. It's really hard to distinguish between the two now.
I think Embark has good funding, so they have like, I think the whole company has like a few hundred employees. Obviously, they use that to work on multiple games. But I think they're employing a lot of the really smart indie dev tactics to optimize their workflow and go quicker and fail faster, as they say in development. It's like, hey, don't fail in the last month of development and realize that like your whole concept sucks. Get your concept working as quickly as possible, fail as quickly as possible, and redesign from there. Fast failure is it's a funny term, but very important when trying to figure out a concept that's never been done before. Like, I hope this works. Let's invest 5 years and find out if it works in the very last year. Like, no, bad plan.
Horrible plan.
Yeah. So what do you been playing, Matt?
Well, we could go from, we had the Precinct. I finished off Doom, the Dark Ages. There was a big update to not only Helldivers 2, but also to Grayzone Warfare. So pick your poison, my man.
I want to hear about Grayzone, actually.
Okay, so Grayzone has had, the last time I played was a year ago, and I think that's basically when it came out in early access.
Yeah.
And since then, they have clearly been making improvements. I now have a nice computer. Before, that game didn't run very well. Now,
not at all.
It actually runs decently for me. So I don't really know if they've made like huge leaps, but game is gorgeous. It was already gorgeous when it came out, and now that I'm at a decent frame rate, it's like, damn, this game is actually running pretty solidly. They added day-night cycle. They've added in weather. They've added in all these cool, basically graphical updates to the game. And they're nice on a surface level. Don't really know how much that's going to get people to come back and play the actual game, though. Because, not only that, but I feel like the day-night cycle just adds an annoyance. I don't know about you, but I am so tired of not being able to see things at night.
I don't like night games in general. I'm just like, it's cool for a second if you want to express something. But like in Stalker, I'm like... No, I'll wait till it's day. I'll go nap and I will plan my whole mission around daytime. And if it gets night, I'm annoyed. I'm like, great. Now I gotta like.
They did add in night vision.
Yeah.
Which is cool, and flashlights, which is cool, right? But like the night vision is horrible. I think I used the most expensive version that you could buy off of like a merchant, and I could kind of see people like out in the distance, sort of. Yeah. If I use the cheapo ones, I would better off just like shooting in the wind, right? Like it was terrible. Like, and so I think once again, going back to the point is, if you're gonna have night combat, like why are you having night combat? What is the gameplay loop you're trying to go for here?
Bro.
I mean, it is. I know I get it. It's milsim, but so many times they added armbands now, so you can actually tell who's like a friendly a little bit easier, a little bit easier. But at night, when you have night vision on, you can't see the armbands.
Are they not like infrared like things?
There's no infrared like ping either. Oof. So I'm like, it'd be nice if there was a ping on everyone that was a friendly, right? So you could actually see. So that was annoying. The big feature that they've added though is it's now less of an extraction shooter where you can go to little areas around the map, and the map is still humongous. Yeah. And you can capture that base for your team, for your side, because there's still the 3 factions. Yeah. So I was a part of the Crimson, and I would go up, take a couple of the guards out, and then that becomes like a mini base. It doesn't change the look of it at all. It's just like this is now an outpost.
Yeah.
And from that outpost, you can change your gear, you can talk, or you can buy things from merchants, right? And then you can use that as now a platform to go out and do your quests, right?
Yeah.
This was a preview event for other content creators, so it was just other content creators. I don't know really why they decided to do it that way, because it's kind of strange to have an early access version of the game that people paid for, but then only give the early access version to content creators. That's besides the point. Still grateful they invited me, but that was a little weird. So there wasn't a ton of people running around, but I'm not really sure what kind of experience they're going for, because like it's cool if you're going for quests and you die and you're like, oh god, I have to fly in the helicopter from one side of the map over to the other now. It's like, no, you can just spawn at the base that's nearby, right? Like it's super cool, right? I like that a lot.
If your team captures bases, it does give you a pretty big quest advantage where you can get out to and from your quests quicker, which is kind of an issue with the game in that it does take a long time to get places.
It effectively shrinks the size of the map, right? So you don't have to scale it as every single time you want to go back to base, or you need more ammo, or you need more meds, right? And I actually think that's really clever. But as the PvP side of things, I'm just like I didn't really feel, if this is the first step, and I'm sure it is the first step, maybe there's going to be like some really big bases you have to coordinate with like friends to take out, right? And then there'll be like big missions or something in there. But it just felt very like, who cares kind of a thing. Like I would take a base and then go out, and then I would see like, oh, it got captured by an enemy, right? And I would go back and then take the base back from them, and then I'd sit around for a while, and then because the map is so large, no one's nearby, and they're like, all right, I guess I'll go out, and then 10 minutes later they go back and take the base I was just sitting at, right? And it's just this back and forth. So it's like, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play in the end, right? I'm trying to understand the vision of right.
Yeah, because it's not fun to defend a base when nobody's attacking it. So because then you just sit there and nothing happens. So do you know when somebody's going to attack your base? Can they make a gameplay loop where?
So there is a circle that will pop up on the minimap or on the map that will say that there is that there are PvP happening in this area. So there is a way to like identify where PvP is, which is nice. I think that was a good feature, a good update.
Yeah.
But other than that, not really. So you're just kind of having to hope you find someone on this vast map.
You know, I know they have much bigger plans for that game, and they haven't even done the central area of the map yet. Right. So there's supposed to be some sort of, stalker-like exclusion zone in the middle of the map, which sounds cool in itself. And if that's where all the good loot is, and it attracts the hardcore PvP, maybe that'll be a fun PvP-focused area. But I also have a hard time understanding the full gameplay loop vision for Grayzone. It's a beautiful-looking game. The environment feels nice, a little static.
It has fun moments.
Yeah. The environment looks great. It feels a little bit static because you'll be running 10 miles and there's a bicycle sitting on the side of the road. And you're like, boy, I wish I could ride that bicycle. But, or a vehicle or a car or something. And then you just feel kind of stupid. But other than some of the staticky worldness of it, it's very nice looking, and they've done a great job of crafting things. I just don't quite understand it. And they've gone back and forth a little bit, where they initially said the game is not an extraction shooter because the game world is always alive, right? You're extracting back to a base that essentially is in the world and can be assaulted by other players. Then they started calling it an extraction shooter. Now they're going back and saying it's not an extraction shooter, because I think part of their new design is, instead of they don't want you to keep coming back to the base, they want you to progress from one mission to the next.
Stay in the world, and I like that. I think the PvP areas, I think will assist in that. And there wasn't people doing any quests in this because like the main focus was they gave us a bunch of gear and they wanted you to PvP, right? Like that was clearly what they wanted you to do. So once people are actually going in questing, and I could see these areas being great. It could be, a fun little hot spot every once in a while. It's like, oh my God, someone actually is here trying to PvP. Let's, have some PvP and then go back to questing, right? But that's not what was happening during this playtest.
Yeah, it's so hard to judge from a playtest too when you got people in there trying to capture clips and they're not playing in a manner that would reflect somebody who wants to save their gear, complete their quest, do whatever they're trying to do. So you're getting kind of a very false representation of gameplay, which also is another one of those things that I don't like about capture sessions like that, where you're like, cool, so this is generally not going to be a good representation of what gameplay's like, and now I have to base an opinion on this experience. So it's always this sort of weird thing. I didn't
have a bad time.
Yeah.
I don't want to I'm not trying to slam the game. I'm just not sure exactly where they're going with the PvP and everything. So I'm still very interested in the title, but I'm not like, hey, this is definitely the next big step, right? Like you should jump in right now kind of a vibe, right?
Yeah. I think what happened, they got a ton of sales when the game went early access.
A lot,
they did a good job of hyping up the game because it looks stunning. So it does look good. Yeah, it's not hard to hype up a milsim that looks incredible, especially when they're making it look like Tarkov, but Tarkov with like the best UE5 graphics you've ever seen. People are like, this is what I want. Then they got in, went, this game is very early. It doesn't really have much stuff to do. And they didn't necessarily bash it. They just stopped playing it. But I think they got enough money from that early access session to probably carry them through for their entire vision for the game.
I hope so.
I just don't entirely know what that vision is yet. And I see them moving towards it, but it might be one of those things that either doesn't click until all the pieces fall into place. But personally, from a dev standpoint, I'd be like, I want the gameplay loop. We need to start experiencing that earlier.
Yeah.
We don't want to figure that out at the very end that it's not fun.
Yep.
We were
literally just talking about that. You said fail early, fail fast, right?
Yeah, fail fast. So it's like, don't keep your aces up your sleeves, guys. Like, get them out there, test them as soon as possible.
Which is why when I heard that they had a day-night cycle and weather effects, I'm like, that's cool, but that ain't gonna get me to come back. Like, that's not gonna keep anyone around. That's just frosting, right? That's that little cherry on top that maybe adds a little bit more, but that ain't gameplay.
The world already looks gorgeous, so making it look prettier is always nice, but it's not going to change the appeal of the game.
Right.
Yeah. And also, it's the night, for me, lessens the appeal to a degree.
Yeah, I hate night combat. I hate it.
Yeah.
I play Armor Reforger, and I'm like, okay, when's it going to be day, guys? Like, straight up, I hate it.
I don't even like it in, like, Minecraft, They're like, it's day-night. I'm like, the night.
I want to be able to see the beautiful world.
Yeah. We're
just old. We're just old.
We are old. I like, and you know what? This is the funny thing though, is like, there's that like milsim push for like, we don't want this big old moon in the sky lighting up the environment and having it look all pretty. Like, how they do nighttime maps and like, what's Blizzard's hero shooter called? Overwatch. You know how like a night map in that is like, it's not really a night map. It's
not night. Yeah.
It's
just dark.
Very, very bright with fun nighttime color aesthetics.
Thematics. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my preferred way to do it. And I think you can do that in a milsim game. Battlefield has had some good night maps in like Bad Company 2 back in the day. And I would even say some of their BF1 night maps did a decent job of keeping things light enough in areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be my preferred way to do it, is like, just make it bright enough so that you can still have fun without NVGs. And if you have them, maybe it's an option to like maybe bump up your skill a little bit higher, but like,
I either would rather them go like all in so that night is just like pitch black and you have to use flashlights and you have to use NVGs, and those things are actually really good at what they do. Yeah. But this like middle ground where it's like, oh, it's dark and it's like hard to see, but it's not like impossible to see. But then you go to NVGs and you're kind of like, it's still hard to see. I just want to be able to like, there needs to be an option where I can see. That's what I want. I want to be able to see.
It is weird because a good NVGs in real life they'll make a very big difference. So I wonder if they're just not dialed in properly for the game. I did test them out a while ago and I thought they were good, but it was a while back when they first came out. So I
don't know.
I don't remember.
My experience with them, all I can say was it wasn't great.
Well,
the other game I was playing, finish off Doom Dark Ages.
Yep.
I liked it. It's a fun title.
Cool.
It's a good game. I think it's solid. It's not a 10 out of 10 or anything like that, but it's just a fun ride from start to finish. Couldn't tell you a goddamn thing about that story though. Man, there's a story to it, and like I recognize characters and like big bombastic things happen, but boy,
you're the demon slayer. You're in hell. You're killing demons. Well, you got to kill eventually a big demon, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I wonder if they're going to be able to just continue on like this track of just like, Doomslayer. Like, are they ever going to add any backstory more? Like, nah. But it like I at first wasn't really as sold on the parrying mechanic. But then by the end, I was like, dude, this is just really fun, just parrying everything. And so you have to like the idea of parrying, because like by the end, you'll fight some bosses where you are there just literally every single attack is a parry, right? And you just have to like parry, get a shot in, parry, get a shot in. But once you get into that flow state, it's a vibe. It's not revolutionary, but it kind of reminds me of Clair Obscur, where they added in a parry feature into a genre that normally doesn't have it. Yeah. And it just kind of elevates it a little bit further than it normally would. So I'd recommend, especially as a Game Pass game, 100% play as a Game Pass title. Definitely.
Game Pass is man, it's shown its value for big titles like this. You're like, cool.
Lately, I mean, Clair Obscur is on it. Blueprints is on it. This is now on it. Doom is on it, right? Like it's nutty. Yeah. I really don't really have many complaints other than I don't think I had any complaints.
Yeah.
This is just a really well-made Doom game. It's not going to knock your socks off, but it's fun. Liked it.
The clips, I haven't played it yet, and I haven't had time. And my interest in it is like 7 out of 10. So I'm like, that looks cool, and maybe I'll try it one day later, or when I have like some time to kill. But the clips I saw of it did look really cool when people were chaining really sick sequences together. Well, somebody posted a clip where they're like, I don't know who says like Doom is like the new Doom is slow, and then they showed like some epic combat montage, and I was like, damn, this looks sick. So
you have a dash like slam that will literally fling you across the map like every 5 seconds or something like that. Like it isn't slow. At all, right?
Yeah. And the shield cutting stuff looks badass. Looks cool.
It gives you a lot of. There's a ton of weapons, and they all function differently for the most part, and they give you the freedom to really play the game how you want to play. And I really like that. You can find your play style within it, and there's a lot of skill expression inside of it as well. So I can't recommend it enough for people who like just a fun single player FPS.
Cool. And it sounds like a good argument to get Game Pass if you don't want to just drop cold hard cash for Doom.
Especially, because I think it's like $70-$80 now. Is this their $80 game now? I can't remember if they bumped it up. Let me check.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But how much is Game Pass, right? It's like if you can play it on Game Pass, and it sounds like a game that for most people is going to be a one-time playthrough. Like you might go in and try and get achievements, but probably
it's $70.
Yeah, the vast majority one-time playthrough. It's like just sign up for a Game Pass, dude. Grab it there.
Yeah. Yep. It took me 18 hours, about 18 hours, I want to say, to beat it.
That's a decent chunk of time for a game that is that intense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't usually.
And I was trying to 100% it too, until like by the end, I was like, all right, it's getting late, and I need to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started like the last 2 missions, I didn't like get 100% from that. So I was definitely taking my time. So if you wanted to beat it, you could probably beat a lot faster than when I beat it.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, different ways to approach it. What'd you think of the new Helldivers 2 patch?
Fun.
Yeah.
The Illuminate now has more enemies. Before it was just the Vanguard, and now there's like I think at least 3 or 4 new enemy types. They've got a big blob meatball guy that will charge at you. Really scary looking.
Yeah.
They've got these really deadly, almost StarCraft Phoenix-esque looking vehicles that will fly over and carpet bomb the area, and they are deadly. Probably
Yeah.
one of those deadly new units they've ever added. So they're really scary. And just with everything else, they've got a mortar now. There's some units that will start mortaring. Just those couple of new mechanics and new enemies really fleshed it out, and it now feels like an army. It now feels more varied. Kind of reminds me a little bit more like it's almost a blend of the Terminid and the automatons, where they've got a lot of little units that will swarm you, but there's still some things that are trying to take you out at a distance. And so I really like it. I think they absolutely nailed the update. What's interesting is that it looks like in the coming days they might get to Super Earth. We're only slowing them down. We're not stopping them. And so I'm curious what's going to happen. And by the time that this podcast is out, we already may have the answer, because Super Earth may be attacked, and people are speculating that we're going to be able to be on Earth and defending it, which is cool. It's never happened before.
They've done such a good job of hyping up the gameplay mixed with narrative, mixed with timing event stuff. It's like, it's sort of like taking a page out of like Fortnite's book to a degree, but doing it with a more adult narrative theme and a more fun theme, I think, you know. It's cool.
It's cool how they were able to, all the big story elements have led to this. It's first started off with, I think, us aerosoling the Terminids and killing them that way, and then it led to us creating a black hole, and then that black hole was actually a portal that allowed the initial, I think, Illuminate to come on in, and now the full army has arrived, right? So it's all been like piecemealed together to where we are, kind of drip fed to where we are now, which is cool. They've done a great job.
That's it. Can people go in and still experience all those plot points from start to finish?
I don't think so. No, no. They were, they weren't like insane moments, but they were cool.
Yeah. It's the that
little bit of FOMO.
Sure. Well, and also it's that sort of Destiny conundrum, right? Where they deleted a huge amount.
Nowhere nearly as bad though.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a weird, interesting concept. You know, it's like they did it with World of Warcraft, where they like did the event that like changed the landscape, and then they no longer had classic WoW, right? And that was like the first time I can remember a big game like that just being like, remember all that stuff you used to do? Not here anymore.
Gone.
Yeah. And you're like, why don't you just add to it? Like, just add more stuff. Like, same with the Destiny thing. It's like, do you really need some apocalyptic event to like delete content you made? Like, so weird, but.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm more sympathetic to World of Warcraft and the way that they handled it, because like you're still experiencing, they still developed an experience like, the early game. You can still level up a new character in those regions. It's just different. But Destiny was like, nah, we just deleted it. Like, it's literally not, you can't even play it. It's nonsense.
Yeah. Very silly. You watch anything?
The last game I played was The Precinct. You heard anything about that?
Yeah, it looks super cool. It reminds me a lot of OG Grand Theft Auto in terms of like,
kind of. Yeah.
I know it's not really the same style because GTA 3 when it went 3D, but the original GTA was like a top-down game, and so the Precinct is sort of like that in between of like.
But you're the cop this time, and you're trying to stop all of the nefarious bad villains of the city.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to describe. It's sort of a cop simulator where you're like a beat cop. You'll go down the street and you need to identify what cars are parked improperly. You're basically a meter maid, right? So you're like, oh, that guy's on the sidewalk, writing you up, right?
Like,
and you have to like,
hey, you're not using the crosswalk. Yeah.
Exactly. You will see cars that are parked in locations that are marked like no parking, right? And you write them a ticket.
Is there a meter maid simulator? That seems like the next indie
I'm sure
hit.
there is.
Yeah.
I absolutely am sure there is. But then out of nowhere, you'll see a car drive by, and then they'll just start shooting up like someone, and you're like, holy crap. So you'll get in your cop car and you'll be like a crazy cop chase, right?
Yeah.
Car chase. And it's over the top, right? Like, it's weird how they walk this line, because when you're just walking around, it's not over the top. But as soon as you get into a car, they're like, you're like hitting stuff. People are flying around all over the place. It's fun. Like it's fun for a while. I did think by the time I think I've like 12 hours into it, it got a little repetitive by the end, and I still haven't beaten it. So, but it's fun to chase after these people. You need to get close enough to them where you can then call in other cars or other upgrades. So you can call in like a road strip or a roadblock, and then a roadblock will just show up and they'll try to go through it or not. And that'll give you the chance to actually stop them and hopefully neutralize the person. There's a wide variety of different situations. You'll have people that'll go for mugging, there's burglary, there's all sorts of stuff, and you have to approach them all slightly differently. And yeah, it's a fun little concept. It's a fun little game. As I said, it does get a little repetitive.
Yeah.
Because while there is a decent amount of stuff to do, the main story, there's like these two gangs that you're trying to discover evidence for. So you've got 3 levels of it. You've got like the captain, then like the underboss, and then the big boss. And each one you have to find evidence, like 8 evidence for all of them. And that's just by solving crime around the city. So you have to do kind of like the more simulated stuff, and then to get to like the main story stuff. And it can take a while. So, like I said, I'm 12 hours in. I haven't even defeated one of the bosses or haven't captured one of the bosses yet.
Okay,
and
so they're
really
kind of more generic quests that you need to complete to progress the main story, and that starts to get a little old, is what you're saying?
I would have preferred if there was more of a better way of just going for the main story. 'Cause,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's not like when I say it gets repetitive, it's not like awful, right? Like it's not like I'm still enjoying it, but I could see after, another 6 hours of playing, if I haven't gotten significantly further in the main story, that's like, okay, how long are we going to be doing this, right?
Well, also it's hard to, like in a crime drama, it's usually about a single crime over the course of a long period of time. If you're going around just solving all types of little crimes to build up a big enough basket of evidence to like indict this guy or whatever, you're like, okay, like it might start feeling like the crimes are interesting because they're drawn out and you have to figure out all this stuff, where if you're solving lots of tiny crimes very quickly, I can see how that would be like less engaging.
There is also one main crime, I think, which is the main story.
Okay.
Where like they'll call you and be like, hey, there was a murder, and so you go investigate it, right? So there is like an overarching one as well. But once again, I'm 12 hours in and I see no end in sight for that one. So want games to have plenty of content, but I recommend it. I actually think it's I think it's an absolutely solid game if it looks interesting.
I really like the visual style, and I really like the choice of the perspective for the game, where like it's when Grand Theft Auto went 3D for the first time, it was a big game, but it was janky going inside and doing lots of stuff, where you're like, they're using this technology as soon as they possibly could, and you're like, it's a little early, it's a little jank, and so you had a lot of weird stuff, and this game is taking I just like that camera angle for driving games. It reminds me of all the like fun arcade games I used to play. I'm like,
and it is fun to drive around too. It does it very well.
Yeah, you can really, I'm sure, enjoy all the crashes and all the car chases and stuff from that perspective. I might check this out. I wonder how it plays on the Steam Deck. I'm always looking for a good Steam Deck game.
Yeah, I think it would be a really good game for Steam Deck if it was optimized for it, for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it would be a perfect game for Steam Deck.
All right. I'll have to keep my eyes out for that then. I'll read up on Steam Deck performance. I hear Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming to the Switch 2. Which,
baby.
Okay, if the Switch 2 can run that game, I wonder what it's going to look like, though, because Red Dead Redemption 2 is very visual. I don't want to say reliant, but that's a huge portion of the game, is how good it looks.
Gorgeous it looks, yeah. All the animations, everything.
Yeah. So we'll see if the Switch 2 can hold up against it. People are saying the Switch 2's hardware seems like it's going to be between PS4 Pro level. So, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I watched a pretty interesting movie over the weekend called Warfare. Have you heard of that?
I did hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I guess you could kind of toss it into the vein of like Black Hawk Down in the sense of it being a modern military movie about a real event that occurred, and it's shot super realistically. Like your adrenaline starts going pretty quick in this film, and then it just doesn't stop until it's over, basically. It was very interesting because a lot of these war films try and I don't know if glamorize combat is the right word, because they don't always just go for that, but they kind of
inadvertently do it.
They inadvertently do it, or they kind of dramatize the heroics to a degree.
Yeah.
Where they're like, like no man left behind,
We're
and then they
together,
jump out.
brother! Yeah.
That kind of stuff happens a lot, and you always watch it going like, were people actually like this, or is this the Hollywoodized version of a combat film?
I think it's a mix of the both.
Yeah. This film seemed like it was going more for the real aspect of it.
That's what I heard.
And it's tough to watch because you recognize these actors.
Spoiler alert, war sucks.
Yeah. This was very much one of those movies of like, well, shit, that looked not fun for anybody. Like,
yeah.
It has the guy from Shogun in it. That's the first time I've seen him in something else. There's another big actor who he's in everything and I forget. So I was all like excited to see these guys kick butt, and they more or less get their butts kicked, and they're like suffering from shell shock half the movie, all this other stuff where you're like, oh yeah, I guess when big explosions go off, it like gives you concussions and like all this other stuff. And these guys are like barely in it. And you're just like, oh man.
We're not made for modern combat.
No,
like humans
man.
are not made for it at all.
Yeah, I know. We got like a little plate carrier that protects our chest and our back. It's like, yeah, if somebody's in front of you and they're trying to shoot you in the heart or the lungs, it might stop the bullet. Otherwise, good luck with that,
Like when you hear stories about World War II and World War I and people came back and just like anything would trigger them, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, when your entire existence was hearing these bombs landing around you and your friends and stuff, like we're just not made for it mentally to be in those situations at all.
Yeah. And this story was kind of more along those lines of like, here's a whole group of really well-trained soldiers in a bad situation, and this is what
would you recommend it?
I do recommend it, but go in like, I say it's similar to Black Hawk Down in the sense of it's attempting for a fairly realistic portrayal of this, but it is not, don't go in expecting a big action film per se. There's plenty of action and plenty of stuff happening, but it's not in the glorified way where you're like, yeah, they're kicking ass and like doing all these things. It's like, no, it's going to be more on the receiving end. So yeah, it's hard to watch from that perspective, but true story, well acted, well shot, feels extremely believable the whole time through. Kind of interesting to see some of the military logistics of it, where they're like just on radios and looking at little maps and stuff and being like, all right, building 341 C7, hit that or whatever. And it's like a lot of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of people listen to this podcast like their Milsim games. This is some Milsim movie, that's for sure. It's it feels very real.
Okay, I'll have to put it on my watch list.
Yeah. You watch or read anything?
I'm doing a lot more reading. I'm finally getting through some books, which is nice. But I'm almost done with Bosch Legacy, which is that cop show that I've been watching for a while. I think one more episode away from finishing it up. So it's been fun. It's just a fun show. I like it. I like the characters, but nothing really to report. Just more Bosch. Yeah,
more detective work. The long drawn out detective sequences. That we're talking about. Cool. I almost got to the end of the studio. I think I watched every episode that had been released, and I think there's one more left or something like that. The Seth Rogen movie producer in LA show. Good. I like it a lot. It's fun. It's kind of that anxiety-inducing humor where if you take it too seriously, you're going to be on the edge. You're going to be like, why are you doing this? Don't do this. Oh, this is going to blow up in your face.
Yeah.
But they bring one of my favorite characters back. They bring Bryan Cranston back towards the end of the season, and his character is just hilarious the whole time. He plays sort of the man who's in charge of the whole studio, and of course he's the biggest a-hole in the whole thing. And he's just hamming it up and playing this crazy character, and
he's a fantastic actor, so he's always a pleasure to watch.
He's so good, and yeah, I won't spoil the last episodes, and I haven't seen the final one, but they're sort of leading up to a big event, and I'm very excited for the final one. So it's got me gripped. I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah. And there was also an excellent F1 race this weekend, but I'll save it for the post-podcast show, Matt. I know you're like, please tell me, how did Max Verstappen do?
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Such a good race. But I think that's most of the news that happened this week.
Yeah. It's a good week. Solid week. Some drama, some AI as usual, some cool games. Good times. I hope you guys have been playing your favorite games or getting them on Game Pass. As always, thanks for watching our podcast. If you want to support us more, check out the link to our Patreon in the video description. You can watch us live if you become a Patreon member, and then hang out for a little post-podcast show. And other than that, Matt's got some very important life advice from you. My life advice this week is don't do things you don't want to do. Forced upon you by others. Level cap.
Forced upon what? What did I make you do, Matt? What did I do?
This damn outro every single time.
Ah, man.
Easy.
While he does the outro. Yeah.
Well, it's meta.
Yeah. Good. Do what I say, not what I do. Got it. Good advice, Matt. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Curious to hear your thoughts on some of the game drama with going on with Bungie and Star Citizen. Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care.